Your mind is in there, yeah. Harder and harder, what time it is in there, yeah. You ain't got a lot of me. Roper. Wipe the frames of the Cartiers. I had to keep them smudge free for the times it wasn't clear. Made my moments out of state, had my mind all Montclair. Thinking different when we travel, but your mind isn't there. Yeah, harder and harder when timing isn't there. Yeah. Habitual rituals and yeah. If it was all just a lie, no surprise to me. Maybe on your behalf, but on my math like lottery. Add it up, we summing up the all prophecy. Wrap it up, might drop it off on your family tree. They spamming me, speaking in vanity. My arms still in the pot, I feel like the insanity. These words of wisdom for those who gon' play hard. Speak the truth when you live, meet your pride at the graveyard. Days on my days off, time off at the days in. It all hurts the same, but it's different when it weighs in. It tastes so bland, but the plan switch occasions. Some occasions I was racing for the moments in amazement. Triggered in differences, vigorous phases. I made off with something you niggas will never make of it. I'm sipping Maker's Mark, not what you make of it. I gave it up, you started taking it. Maybe I showed you love and you started hating it. But no matter what it is, we staying dangerous. Wipe the frames of the Cartiers. I had to keep them smudge free for the time it wasn't clear. Made my moments out of state, and my mind's on Montclair. It get different when we travel, but your mind isn't there. Yeah, harder and harder when timing isn't there. Yeah. Habitual rituals and yeah. If it was all just a lie, no surprise to me. Maybe on your behalf, but on my math like lottery. Yeah.
Yes, we're back. Another preliminary elimination chamber. Who's going to walk away a paid man? Who's going to walk away with the $500? Who's going to be the last man standing? Who's going to challenge the heavyweight champion, me, myself, for the belt? Which one of these brothers? Is it going to be James? Is it going to be Rudi? Is it somebody that's not here? Somebody got to make it, man. It's called the Elimination Chamber for a reason, meaning somebody has to advance and somebody has to go home. So I want to introduce these two brothers, these two warriors, so they can get it in tonight, figure out the topic, and find out what these guys are going to be debating. With that being stated, I got my brother Rudi. Can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi there. My name's Rudi Heinrich. Glad to be here. I've been probably part of these type of I wouldn't call them debates, but kind of the Facebook community and the YouTube community, just mostly in chat rooms and things like that. You've probably seen me make comments here and there. I think I'll probably just get down to what I believe. I used to be a practitioner of, I was raised in a secular family, partially of Jewish origin on my mother's side, had a very secular upbringing, probably had kind of a Jewish ethnic Zionist upbringing like a lot of secular American Jews do. Went looking for religion and what that meant later on when I was my early 20s, practiced Christianity for a short time, practiced Judaism for a little longer, and eventually became just kind of an agnostic and a skeptic. That's my viewpoint, more rationalist, open-minded, but there's certain things I do hold to. Regarding a lot of the topics that covered in on the channel and other platforms, as far as Israelites or Jews or people of that descent, I think we're essentially dealing with a religion that acknowledges maybe one set of ancestors. I believe that that Jewish people are basically possibly remotely descended from whatever the ancient Israelites were, the ancient Jews were, but they're an amalgamation of remote descent and generation after generations of converts. And I also live in I live here in Florida, Orlando, Florida. I'm native Floridian. If I'm an expert on anything, it's probably Florida history. I'm not an expert on, genetics, Jewish history, anything like that. I just dabble in it. And that's pretty much that's about as much as I can say about myself for now.
All right, all right, all right. And
By the
we
way,
also
your camera is on, Rudy. If you didn't want to like show your house, I don't know if you knew your camera was on.
Oh, my
yeah,
camera's on. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
on.
can. Yeah, I don't know how to turn it around, and show my face. I'd like to, but I'm not real good with the technology.
You can turn it off if you don't want it like showing your
Oh
house.
no, it's fine. I have nothing to hide here. You might see my cat dash across the room. But so yeah.
all right. So we got James Cassel, the argument king, the runner up of the last tournament. Brother, introduce yourself and let's get it
Hey,
in.
hey, Shalom, fam. Y'all know who it is, man. It's me, James Cassell, the Argument King, Sourced Up Click, Source Debate League, Yap Gang, all that and some. You know what I mean? But when it comes to me, everybody know I'm an Israelite. I'm into philosophy. I like history, archaeology, about it all. Only thing I can think of right now, coming off the top of my mind, that me and Rudy may have some contentions in that I really want to get into is I hear he's an anti-theist. Is that true, Rudy?
No, no, I wouldn't say I'm an anti-theist. You mean like an atheist, or in the term just
Well,
I have
mm-hmm.
I'm an I'm an agnostic. I believe in something. In fact, it's almost like wishful thinking. Actually, I envy people who have something to believe in and have that assurity. But I don't. For example, as far as like the biblical narrative, I can't really, but I don't put a lot of stock in it. But I wouldn't say I'm an anti-theist. No, I don't. I think there are several explanations for God or a supreme being or something, a higher power, but I don't find any of them satisfying.
Hmm.
If I'm getting you right, if that's what it mean, if what you mean by anti-theist.
Anti-theists, I look at more or less of people that are just they're not saying that they're atheists. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them can be agnostic as well. They're just anti-religion for the most part.
I wouldn't say anti. Well, yeah, I would. You could say that I do have. I have very big problems with organized religion. Absolutely,
Okay. So would you be
and doctrine and dogma and things like that. Yeah.
okay? So what do you think would give us a better world? Something like a rationalist approach, or do you
There
think
are
that?
here. Well, there are problems with the rationalist approach as well because there are things like there have been secular philosophies and like for example the experience of with communism and totalitarian system, which failed, for example, that killed probably far more people than religion. So I have very strong criticisms of I have strong criticisms of people who have not beliefs but strong convictions. I think strong convictions can be dangerous. Not necessarily that they
True
are. I
skeptic,
mean, there's
huh?
some people. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what do you think would be best for societies to be composed around? I know that for the most part, throughout human history, the use of religions has been the best thing we could use to build cohesive societies. So, do you think that removing religions from society would make society better, worse? What do you think?
Oh, not at all. I think there are elements within religion, for example, fanaticism, uh, superstition, too much adherence to, strong adherence to doctrine, even if the doctrine is essentially, some of the doctrines are essentially criminal. Um, Doctrines can be used and like, for example, interpretations of biblical or Quranic narratives, for example, can be used to justify things, the things that are criminal or wicked, genocide, for example, or in the case of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, basically, the ethnic cleansing of Palestine and taking Palestinian land, attaching national aspirations to it. But I also believe that the essential conservative argument for religion as something positive. I mean, I believe that there are things that you need, things kind of the Platonic idea that you need noble ideas to hold society together, even if they're myths. Something good can be salvaged from them. So I think that that's a role. I can understand that as a role religion plays. For example, Christianity, the idea of Christianity, the Christian idea or the Judeo-Christian idea that it's kind of basically Western culture it's basically it permeates Western culture. It's part of what you would call Western culture. That's the culture we live in. That's the culture we were born into. Essentially a Christian, or some people would call it a Judeo-Christian culture. I would call it a Christian culture. There are very positive elements within that, I mean, not to say that it wasn't offset by, Western culture is responsible for a lot of atrocities, but I think some of that was tempered. Like, for example, you take the issue of slavery, which was sanctioned by some elements of, people in the Christian church, enslaving people who weren't Christians and finding justification in that. At the same time, the impulse toward abolition and equality and, producing people like William Wilberforce, William Lloyd Garrison, Frederick Douglass, well, not so much Frederick Douglass. I don't know if he was religious. On the other end of that, John Brown, who was a Christian abolitionist terrorist, but I think his motives were correct. Basically, those are strong impulses. Those are positive. So it's tempered. It's
Okay, because I can pretty much agree with
you.
No, you good. I was just trying to, as you spoke, I was just trying to see if I could hear something that may be a point of contention, but it wasn't really nothing there.
Yeah.
Shoot, I'm trying to think of something.
There is.
Man, you be seeing us both speak online, man. You know any points of contention you may think we may have?
What about politics?
I was just thinking about that.
My politics are probably just as complex, but I've had debates with people regarding. And this is a big point of contention for people. It's like I said, I've made my point on that. I don't think that there are, like, as far as like Jewish origin or Israelite origin, I don't think that there was a migration to West Africa. Like, because I've argued with Hebrew Israelites. I argue with Jews to a lesser extent about other things, especially Zionism, but I don't think there's enough at this time to establish a large presence of Jews in or Israel or descendants of Israelites during the Middle Ages or before, and I don't think it can be proven at this time that large groups of people who have affinity to Judaism currently, like for example, among the Igbo and among some other groups, I don't think that there is a strong enough. I don't think there's strong enough evidence.
Okay, on that, I would say, but if you see it as a religion only, then yeah, I can see what you're saying, because you have people who, let's say, for instance, like, I believe that there was a migration that took place, but I don't think it was, during the 1st century AD, which a lot of people push for. At least one of them wasn't. But the main migration that I believe happened around the time of the Assyrian invasion. And that's when I think they were. Huh?
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's when I believe, small clans trickled down into West Africa, but due to amalgamation,
Yeah,
cultural exchange, different things like that, they would have lost their religious identity for the most
yeah,
part. But if we're looking at them as a people who have a genetic legacy, uh, then we have a different story. I do think that there is a strong argument to finding those Levantine components from the Bronze Age, Iron Age, not only in West Africa, but you can also find West African DNA on the various Jewish communities, which would also show that link going not just one direction, but both ways, which
yeah.
means that these
Oh,
people had to be around each other at that time
yeah.
period.
I agreed with that to an extent where I think these things happened in prehistory. I think we're talking. I think this might come from a common ancestry in prehistory because it can be shown that within the ethnogenesis of the what became the Israelite people in the 1200 BC and before, there were elements of E1B1A, E1B1E, and other and I think you could even, if I'm not mistaken, things like other other haplogroups that show that they were part of that ethnogenesis.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the people in the near, like the Natufians. I agree with the model that the Natufians and people very much like the Natufians, basically the same genetic material, probably people from the Horn of Africa in interior Africa, and were very much like the Egyptians, very much like the people in the Horn of Africa, and of course their common ancestors spread into West Africa, and might have been in the Levant in prehistory because of back migration and things that was part of their ethnogenesis.
Where
The
are you
ancient
placing
Israelites,
prehistory at?
prehistory probably the Chalcolithic, but my memory's kind of fuzzy. You're probably a lot stronger on this than I am.
Okay,
But
so
I think they were we're talking it's common ancestry. And you find this and I think that was supplement during in the Bronze Age to the Iron Age. You had incoming people from the Caucasus, Iran, and Anatolia that supplemented this group, and that mixture became basically the Israelite polity. But if you want to talk about a base population, I think the E carriers were there first. And I'll even go as far to say I think that because if you look at the religion, and I have no way of proving this, I'm not an expert on, but from what I've read, I would even go as far as saying that there was the E carriers from the Horn of Africa that may have injected monotheism into, like the Abrahamic style monotheism into the region. Because if the only way we'd know is if we could prove that the Oromo religion, which is like the proto religion of the Oromo and the Somalis and people and other peoples in the Horn of Africa were, if we knew if we could somehow prove, and it's difficult because we're dealing with a religious system, things like in other groups like the Kamant, who have a very strange religion, which was monotheistic. It's kind of got Hebraic elements. How long these religions were practiced, how far back into history and even prehistory they go. I mean, that might be the precursor to monotheism. I'd even say that it's possible that the ancient Israelites became a people in Egypt.
So
It might
you're
have
pretty
been.
much saying you don't think that there's an actual connection between the Levant and West Africa during like around that 700 BC period I'm talking
Yeah,
about. You
well,
think
I
that
don't.
is an ancient shared
Yeah, I think
ancestry between two populations, one being
yeah,
in West Africa and the other one being in the Levant at that time.
yeah. I think it's a macro. I think it comes from a single macro genetics on a macro level, genetically and maybe and culturally. Coming, that it's plausible, highly plausible that they shared common ancestors, but I don't know. I don't think there's enough evidence to establish the model of a migration during Assyrian times or thereafter of Israelites or Jews into. We know there were Jews in West Africa, but the communities seem to have been small. There is tantalizing evidence, statements. It's kind of, but it's they're kind of scant. It's like in the some of the medieval sources, Arabic sources. I think the Lam is mentioned, the kingdom of Lam. We don't really know what that kingdom was like. There's also the Jakonk people. There was some, I forget the exact source. I have to revisit all this. There's tantalizing evidence of a large polity where they were able to put, I think it was something like 15. Well, I forget the numbers, but it was several
I
thousand.
wouldn't argue that there
Yeah.
was, huge numbers. Like I said, I
Yeah.
would argue that maybe a few clans trickled down, but it wouldn't have been like just a Israelite migration. It would be more like a migration of Levantine peoples
Yeah.
into not just West Africa, but all around Africa, North Africa, West Africa, and different regions. I think that there's also enough evidence from DNA and archaeological evidence to substantiate that point, that there was an actual migration of maybe not, large numbers, but a nice amount of people to actually completely transform the West African landscape as far as population growth, as far as new archaeology you're going to start finding around that time period. So if you think that there is not enough evidence to substantiate a Levantine migration into the interiors of Africa around that time period, and I think there is, if you're willing to, I'm willing to debate that there's enough evidence to substantiate
I think
a Levantine
that would be a
migration.
good. Let's debate. Okay, that's a good starting point. Let's debate. And which time period?
I'm saying around that 700 BCE time period to about 500 BCE time period. So it's waves.
All right. Yeah, I think we have a debate. I think we have parameters that works.
All right, Jashub, I think we got it.
All right.
Yeah.
So what I need y'all to do is this: word it, put it into words so I can type it out and send you guys your official topic. So when we get to the day of the debate, there's no confusion on what you guys are debating, what the premise is. Both parties are going to agree tonight on what that is. So I need you guys to word it out for me.
Okay, just the topic, correct?
Yes.
All right. Could we say, was there a Levantine migration into West Africa? Pose it as a question, perhaps?
Was there a Levantine migration
into West Africa?
Into West Africa and the time period from around it, like at the time of the Assyrian. You said the time of the Assyrian conquest.
Yeah,
right?
around about that time frame, around about this.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
Between 700 and 500 BC, around that time period. I forget what that would encompass. Yeah.
I'm gonna read it back. Was there a Levantine migration into West Africa around the Assyrian conquest?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think that works.
And James, you're arguing the affirmative. You're saying
Correct.
yes. Okay.
And I'm saying that there's not enough evidence or strong evidence.
Negative is Rudi.
Yeah, I'll take it as an intellectual exercise. I'm probably gonna get whipped on the DNA stuff, but
Oh man, you're not supposed to say that on camera, brother. You're trying to sell a fight, brother.
yeah, I know. But all right.
So rounds. You want 10 minutes round or 15-minute rounds?
I think 10 minutes. 10 minutes, good.
How many rounds we doing?
3 rounds.
3 rounds.
3 rounds? Okay, yeah.
Hey, I got
Like
an
a little
argument
bit
to make,
more.
man. I might need 15, man. I gotta argue. I gotta lay down some evidence to prove this.
Yeah, I'll take 15.
All right, this is your time to negotiate, so be sure. Be sure. I don't want to wait. I don't want to hear anything on the day of the debate, brother.
I'll go with 15.
Okay, 15-minute round. You guys want to do a question and answering segment where you only get a finite amount of answers, right? I mean questions. We usually do 5 questions apiece. Or do you want to do a crossfire?
How do the questions work? How do the questions work? How does that first model work?
Okay, so with the questions, you get 5 questions with 30 seconds to a minute to pose the question, and your opponent has 2 minutes to respond. With a crossfire, it's like an interrogation. You will get 10 minutes to interrogate your opponent. So you can put in 30 questions if you want it within that 10-minute time frame, and then your opponent gets to do the same thing to you.
All right. Yeah, I think I like the crossfire.
I mean, I think either way, we gonna max it out at 5 questions, so it don't matter. Because if I still get the same amount of time to answer, then you only get 5 questions.
Oh.
Yeah, think about it. If you get 2 minutes to answer the question, that's 5 questions.
All right, that works.
Crossfire session, 10 minutes apiece. All right, 10 minutes each. Let's get a date. What's a date that can work for both parties?
Oh.
Hey, Rudi has a busy schedule, so Rudi, you said it. I'll work my schedule around it.
All right, let me think. Let's try and do this. Let me see.
You can't do it Monday, Wednesday. You can't do it Friday. We got a debate. We got a debate next Sunday. Saturday, I'm going to be out of town, so I can't do Saturday.
Let's do it. Let's do it Sunday. Sunday, good.
We got a debate Sunday. Let me see what time is that debate. And then we might have a double header, which is fine. We'll figure that out. Is debating at 4 o'clock Sunday. Debates usually take 2 or 3 hours, so you might going to be looking at like 7 or 8 Sunday if you do it the 26th.
All right, and Sunday the. Would you say that again?
Sunday the 26th. We'll have to push it to a late show.
I can do a late show. I can do a late show on Sunday.
You sure?
Yeah, I'll make sure.
All right. So you want to be on March 3, 6, Sunday, 3/26. And that to be safe, that's 8 p.m. CST. 9 p.m. Can you do 9 p.m.? You want
Yeah, I
to
can do 9.
Hey, yeah,
9
we ain't
p.m.
doing no 9 p.m. No, sir. I got to get up in the morning.
oh 9 p.m. his time.
Oh, okay.
8
Yeah, I'm
p.m.
over here on the East Coast. Yeah.
All right. Just to be safe, because I don't know how long that other debate is going to bleed over. Usually it takes 2 hours. So we start at 4, 5, 6. We should be done by 6.
So we'll shoot for 7, but if not, we'll do it at 8.
Yeah, let's say that.
No.
That's what 7. That's 7, 10, 9, 8. And if we have to push it back, we just have to push it back.
Yeah, that works.
All right, we got one more preliminary to do for Rizzo and the brother Malachi. That will be the last of the first round. So I appreciate both you brothers, and hopefully you guys have a great fight and may the best argument win.
All right. Yeah, it's gonna be a good build.
Rudy, you do know how to make a presentation, right?
What's that?
You do know how to create a presentation.
Yeah, PowerPoint. Yeah.
All right, so we do require a PowerPoint. So make sure both parties have a PowerPoint or a presentation and show where you get your sources from, show citations. And any more questions, you can hit me up at any time on Facebook. I'm there to answer your questions. You both have a week, man. I don't want to hear Sunday come up, y'all ain't got a presentation, or you're not ready, or you half-assed it. We don't want to hear that, man. You got a week. Both brothers have a week.
We'll have something ready. Yeah, definitely.
All right, it's a wrap. So
All right.
we're going to see these two gentlemen next week on the 26th, Sunday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, let me read the rules for both parties and make sure you guys agree to this. So we do have a set of rules here. And we just read this so both parties can't say they were ignorant of our rules. So it says rule number 1 is all debaters will have a PowerPoint presentation. The lack thereof will result in a loss regardless of the final judgment. You feel like that you won, but if you didn't have a presentation, that's going to be a loss. Rule number 2, all debaters and judges should be taken the day prior to the date of the debate. Rule number 3, if any debater leaves during the debate, it will result in an automatic loss. If you do leave with no excuse, no technical difficulties, that will be a loss. Rule number 4, each and every debate will be judged based on the information alone, not religiosity or personal preference. Rule number 5, any judge that shows any sign of bigotry or religious favor or disfavor will be disqualified on the spot. Rule number 6, all sources must have proper citations. This is huge. If your source cannot be cited, then that's going to count against you. Rule number 7, all judgments must be sent directly to the host prior to each judge giving the explanation for their judgment. And that's just so the judges don't influence each other. Rule number 8, all 3 judges shall be from different perspectives and creeds. So this will absolve any personal or religious bias from the judging system. For example, today we had a Christian, an Israelite, and that's to cut back on bias. So brothers can say, oh, he just picked so-and-so because of religious belief or his background, or they're all Israelites. We don't do that here. And we want the judgment to be fair. And we want to be based on the information presentation, not supposition, right? Also, rule number 9 says no shows will result in automatic loss. So we both agree that both parties agree that they're going to show up on March 26th for the debate. If you don't show up, that's going to be a loss. All 3 judges, I read that one. Rule number 10, once the premise is agreed upon during the preliminary, none of the debaters can alter it. So what you guys agreed to debate on cannot be changed. Rule number 11, all participants, hosts, judges, and debaters must be in the straight yard at least 45 minutes prior to the start of the debate. So you guys try to be early, that way we can start on time. Rule number 12, preliminaries are for hammering out debate topics and setting up dates and time, discussing the length of rounds, etc. That's what we did today. Rule number 13, if a debater cuts off an opponent during that round, an additional minute for each infraction will be allotted to the victim of interruption. Rule number 14, source debate standard format is as follows: 3 rounds with a question and answer segment or a rapid fire session after. the completion of the 3 rounds. And those are the rules of the debate league. Thus, both parties agree with the rules of the debate league.
I agree.
Yeah, I accept them.
All right. We all good, man. We're set up. I want to see.
Hey, I don't know who got the noise in the background, but I think it's kind of drowning out the voices.
Yeah, there's some distortion. Whoever's mic is open.
That's Rudi, I think. Mute your mic, Rudi. I'm muted. So I muted Rudi. But anyway, he unmuted himself. So you guys be on the lookout next week. I'm looking forward to this chess match, to a battle between two great minds, James Cassel and my brother Rudi. So hey, the Elimination Chamber. Somebody got to go home. Somebody moving on and advancing on to the next round and try to win that $500 so you get a title shot with the heavyweight champion. With that, we say shalom, yap, Source Gang, signing off.
Yep.
I think we're forgetting something as well, Jashu.
We're not
Whoever
forgetting
whoever debates a Yap Gang member, they take the membership if they win. So if Rudi wins, he'll be Yap Gang. Nah, I'm playing.